So I've got a lot of things going on this CT175. Right there is the tank that I picked up from a salvage yard because the original that was on here was just too far gone. I couldn't recover it. So I'm still in the process of cleaning that out, and then I'm going to get a liner material to put inside of that. One thing that I've found with a lot of projects is it's really easy to tear these things apart, but you got to be careful not to get too far ahead of yourself. The one thing that I've really been itching to do is see if I can get this to turn over and run, even if it's just for a few seconds. If that does run, then I'm going to keep going forward with this. If it doesn't run, then I have to kind of reevaluate what I'm going to do with this bike. To this point, I've gone through and I have checked the ignition coil. This is actually one that I picked up from the salvage yard as well. The original was fine. It was in working condition. But the end of the wire was corroded in here, and I didn't like the way that this boot fit on there. I've replaced the spark plug because the old one was bad. That was no big surprise. I've gone through the carburetor and cleaned that out and kind of rebuilt that where necessary. Nothing too fancy, just mostly cleaning it out and getting rid of the old glaze and the old gasoline that had kind of set in. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to get this to turn over. I have mixed up some gas. This is a 32-to-1 mix for this motorcycle. I believe that's correct. That's kind of what I've deciphered from watching some videos. So to make that, and this is where the metric system comes in real handy in these smaller volumes. It's pretty easy. You just figure out what your ratio is, do a little simple math, and I end up with about 15.5 milliliters of the 2-cycle engine oil in a total of 500 mils. That's going to be plenty for me to run this real quick to see if everything's going to work. I'm going to take that gas, and here is my temporary gas tank. To build this, I just took a sports drink bottle and I drilled a hole in the lid. I've got a fitting here that will fit down in my fuel line, and then I have just silicone that in place with some automotive silicone that's resistant to fuel and other petroleum products. So I'm going to put that gas in here, then I'll attach the fuel line, and then I can just tip it upside down like this, bungee cord it in place, and then it'll be a gravity fed system. The last thing I have to do is get my ignition system back together temporarily so that all of the contacts are made and I get spark. What I've done so far, this is my key switch. This doesn't have a key for this motorcycle. I've already gone through and I completely disassembled this and cleaned it out. And I did some calling around, and I can get a new key for this motorcycle for about 25 bucks, which is the route that I'm going to go. I just haven't done it yet because, again, I want to see if this motorcycle works before I put a whole lot more time and money in it. So all I'm going to do is figure out where these contacts need to be on this wiring harness right here. And everything is reference marks. It's got notches here that line up to tabs here and here, and then this contact point, this thing is symmetrical on that side, but on this side there is a tab right here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that tab right there fits down inside of a groove inside of there. Turn that around, right down in there. So this only sits in here one direction. Like so. Then what I need to do is just flip this over so that I'm oriented. This is the front of the bike, and again, this only fits in here in one aspect once you get those tabs lined up. So now everything here is lined up. Now all I'm going to do is just kind of remember where a common line is. I'm going to take those points out and I'm just going to temporarily tape them in place. So here's the key switch, and this is forward on the bike and this is forward on the bike. Now with this key switch, this little tab is the top of the key. It's turned to approximately here, and that is the on position. So basically we've gone from here to here. You can see that tab. So now I'm just going to tape this in place, and I'll check to make sure that I've got some spark back here, and then I'll be ready to go. So as you can see, I just tested one more time before I put the gas tank on that I've got spark, and this is a real quick and dirty way to do that. All you need to do is make sure that your spark plug is making good contact to your ground or your engine chassis, your frame, whatever. Just don't touch that. It might give you a little jolt, and then you kick it over and you should see spark right there. If you don't have spark there, you've probably got something else going on. Okay, so we're ready to go. There's my fuel tank in place. I've just got it bungee corded, holding it. And you can ignore that hose clamp. I originally was going to put that down right next to the carburetor, thinking that I needed it, but it won't fit. So it's just going to sit right there. I've just been watching it for a few minutes just to make sure that fuel's not leaking all over the place. Now this is probably going to run like crap if I do get it to turn over and start, because I don't have the air filter on there, so the air-fuel mixture is going to be all out of whack. And I've taken off the exhaust pipe, so that's going to be noisy and all kinds of crazy. I've tested to make sure that this is in neutral, because I've got everything disconnected, including the clutch cable. So I had to make sure all of that stuff was all squared away before I kick it over. Well, I wasn't getting anywhere with this thing up on the stand and trying to pussyfoot around kicking it over, so I put it on the ground, and I think there's hope. Let's see if I can get this to churn over for a little. That's what I'm after. Well, you were there when it happened. I don't think this bike has been ridden or started for 35 plus years. Now I've got all the motivation in the world to keep going. I've still got a lot of work ahead of me, as you can see by the looks of this bike. I've disassembled most of it, and I'm going to keep going. But knowing that this thing runs, that's all I needed to do to keep moving forward on this project. I'm super excited about this now. We'll keep you posted. Stay tuned. There's more to come.